Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the bit of delay that we have here today. I finished up work a little bit late today, but we'll jump right into it. We're going to be discussing if the premium aftermarket upgrades are worth it. Generally, are expensive upgrades worth it? Are they worth your time, money, and if you're installing it yourself, the time to do the install? Or is it better to go with a budget option or with an OEM option? And then we'll open it up for Q&A towards the end. But before we get to the Q&A, I actually have a small surprise that has been in the works for quite some time now, and I was hoping actually to have it done sometime before the start of this year, but the logistics of it just didn't materialize. But I was able to get the wheels going on another project, which hopefully you would be a part of, or if it's any of interest to you, just let me know. And hopefully we get something going for the 2 Series community, because a lot of the times we don't get that much love. It's usually for the 3 and the 4 Series. So answering the question of, are expensive mods worth the money? And generally, just, I think this is one of my favorite pictures now. It was supposed to be a thumbnail a while back, but, this is fake money. But, when it comes to cars, we're generally, as car enthusiasts, we're not afraid to put money down on our cars, but we want to make sure that we're getting our money's worth, especially with the times as they are. We want to make sure that we're getting a good return of investment, because money's tight nowadays. And one of the biggest marketing ploys that I think a lot of people fall into are air filters. And I think it really boils down to 2 options, which doesn't even cross over the $100 threshold. I think maybe $80 after tax, depending on where you live. And that first threshold is, do you want the filter that's going to remove the most particulates before it enters into the car system? If that's the case, you'll want to go with an OEM paper filter. If you want performance, so if you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of the filtering properties in order to let in more airflow, then you're going to want to go with a high flow filter. And I would really recommend, when it comes to our premium mods worth it, our expensive mods worth it, just go with this type of filter, unless you have the disposable income to go to something like a quote unquote cold air intake. And back in the day, when most cars, most BMWs were just regular, when they weren't turbocharged, and this filter that we have here actually drops down lower into the wheel well per se, or lower in the engine bay, and it actually picks up colder air because colder air is denser and it goes in. It made more sense to do a cold air intake. But because cars nowadays are turbocharged, when the air comes in here, it's actually hotter in the engine bay than it is from the outside environment, where the ducting system would bring in air to our modern day BMWs. So the biggest thing is, when it comes to cold air intakes on a turbocharged car, it doesn't really matter, because most of the cooling properties are done lower at the intercooler. And that's where you're going to get the most benefit. So all that this kind of intake does is give you more sound. And for people that say, oh, well, I'll get an intake like this one where it's closed off, that's pretty much like OEM. So if you're looking at, is it worth it? If you show off your car, if you want that engine bling, then yes, this is cool. And it will give you the benefits of a, I guess, more or less an OEM system. I can't even say a cold air intake system, because it's bringing in the air at the same temperatures as the OEM system. But generally speaking, these type of intakes don't really work. For a naturally aspirated car where it drops down lower and you have a ducting system for it, it will. But honestly, I would just say it's better when it comes to our cars now. Upgrade the plastic parts first. Here is where you will see a return of investment. And something like the turbo inlet pipe. So if we follow that track down if we're starting from the air intake system, the next thing that it feeds into is the turbo inlet pipe, which then feeds into the turbo, which is this thicker flange, or the perceivable smaller flange section down here. And you can see that it's about just a little bit less than twice as much as the OEM unit. And here I would say you're definitely getting a return of investment. This is worth it. Now, in the N55 engines and even some of the N20s, and N26, it's easier to hide this when you need to do your smog, but this isn't as obvious of a under hood replacement, or however the state classifies it. So in one aspect, it might be a little bit harder to smog the car, but longevity wise, it's going to last the rest of the life of the car. This plastic component, especially at this flange section here, which holds in, I believe it's the PCV hose, or it's the return hose or something like that. I forget exactly what feeds into this, but this breaks all the time, and it broke on mine. And then not only that, is it breaks a lot at the turbo side because the turbo is really hot and you're bringing in relatively cold air to that system. And over time, this thin plastic, it just cracks and breaks. So in this case, I would say, yes, it's worth it to upgrade to a premium part like the MST turbo inlet pipe. And I would recommend, at least for the N55 engine, that you do go with something like the MST, where you have a silicone hose and a metal flange on the other end. Mostly because the install, if you're doing it yourself, is a whole lot easier, and the O-rings are a lot more robust. If you get something that's a whole metal construction, it's harder to get down in there, and the install is just a nightmare. If you're taking it to a shop and they have the resources to clear things up to do the install, then I guess it doesn't matter. But if you're doing the install yourself, MST makes it so easy to do the install. Even on the N20 and N26 engines, it's very easy. Next, after it goes through the turbo, it will go into the boost pipe. And for the N20, N26, even the N55, if you're there, I would recommend that you replace it. They do make metal versions of it, but it's not necessary. That rubber hose holds up. It has metal ends, or I guess kind of like metal casings on the end, something like that. But it holds up very well to the heat of the turbo and the pressure that's coming out of the turbo. It's not necessarily prone to breaking, and even if it does, I guess, say it rips, it's not the hardest thing in the world to replace. So if you're on a budget, I would say you could wait. But if you're going to upgrade the charge pipe and the turbo inlet pipe, and you wanted the benefits of a cold air intake, this is where you should put the money. So if we look at this, we have a 380 upgrade from VRSF and a 490 from Wagner. And if we go back a little bit to our, I didn't even put the price of these. I think this is 165, the InGen one. If you get something like AWE or even Turi, you're paying upwards of like $400 or $500, which you're already walking into the territory of an intercooler. So those drop-in filters, they're like $80, the high flow ones. Or versus getting a cold air intake, just take that money and put it into an intercooler. Now here, I would say VRSF is a really good bang for your buck. Depending on when they're running sales, who's running deals, you could get it for even cheaper than this. And they do make bigger versions of this, so you could scale it up as well. And there is a difference. I would say for somebody who does a lot of like short stint driving, like a lot of not necessarily stop and go, but like you do a lot of short distance driving, you stop and then you hang out there for a while and then you move again after a couple hours. If that reflects your driving behavior, then you'll benefit from the bar and plate system of the VRSF. Although it is a more generic design, it takes a lot longer for that heat to soak up. But once it's saturated with that heat, it's harder to dissipate. So that's why I say if you give the car time to cool down, this is actually more beneficial. Although it is heavier than the tube and fin method used by Wagner, unless you're in a lot of free flow traffic, you won't really see the benefits of paying that extra premium price point. Unless you're somebody like me who did a coilover system and then the car is too low, so you need to lighten the load on the front end to clear things like speed bumps. Then you have an argument for this. However, I will say that I picked up my Wagner Evo 2 intercooler. I picked it up used for, I think, around $200. So the good thing, at least even on the VRSF side, is that they have a lifetime warranty. And when it comes to damaging or damages of the intercooler, because it's facing the front of the car, so it's prone to all the debris and everything that comes with that, this, at least even on the Facebook listings or wherever you decide to buy it secondhand, if you do, you can tell if it's damaged right away and not even entertain that that part. But the Wagner intercooler that I got, it was barely used. It had a little bit of dirt just because it was used, but it was barely used. All the fins were still intact, and this black coating here, or paint, is nice because something that has a coating like this, if it's really damaged, it'll chip, it'll crack, it'll start to peel, and then you know it's not good. But at least in my case, it was a good deal. I got something that was $200, so it's even less than VRSF. So I would say, if this is really what you want, you can look to the used market, and there you can find deals that are even better than this. Now that leads us up to the charge pipe. So the air goes from the air intake to the turbo inlet, down to the turbo, through the intercooler. The air is cool, and this is what delivers the cold air to the engine, is the charge pipe. So this carries the pressurized air from the cold section down here all the way up to the top, where it gets a little hotter in the engine bay now. And so this is the part that most people say you gotta replace. And on the N55s, yes, this is true. It can crack even under stock pressure. On the N20, N26, you don't really have to worry about it as much if your car isn't tuned. But here we see a little bit of a role reversal, where the OEM part is more expensive than an aftermarket part from VRSF. And although there are other manufacturers out there who make other charge pipes and maybe their company is a little bit more established, just remember that this is just a pipe carrying air. There's nothing special about it other than that. So as long as it fits and all of the flanges line up and everything like that, I would say VRSF is a good company to go with for something like this. It makes no sense to me to pay more than this, or even more than an OEM price, if you can get it for cheaper. Other than that, you're just talking bragging rights at that point. Now, there are other companies out there that can, based off of the sales at the time, can offer a price lower than this. That one you're just gonna have to shop around. But generally speaking, the VRSF charge pipe for the N55 will sit right at this price on a day-to-day basis. And again, I would recommend that this is worth it, opposed to getting a plastic OEM charge pipe that, when you need to do work on the car, this is harder to work around. The nice thing, like when you do the oil cooler and the oil filter housing gasket, you can just remove this upper third section off of the silicone hose in order to back off the intake manifold, and you're good. It's harder to maneuver this, and even if you are successfully able to break it off and just pin it down, you have to worry about the plastic cracking or breaking. So when it comes to like servicing other things, it's so convenient to have a metal charge pipe that's broken up into sections. The down pipe is where you're going to have to make a decision if it's worth it or not. Because as you can see here, we have a high flow cat that's upwards of $900, and the VRSF one that's catless at $269. If you're going to go catless, again, it's just a metal pipe that carries air, and as long as the threads line up with the O2 sensors, then there's no reason to pay a more premium price for just a tube of metal. And I can say that the VRSF that I've had on the M235i has held up well. It's catless. The threads for the O2 sensors are perfectly fine. They thread in well. The O2 sensor placement is perfect. It lines up well with the clamps. There's nothing wrong with this pipe. It's sized appropriately for that length. And I would feel comfortable recommending this to anybody who wants to run a catless system. So I would say, no, it doesn't make sense to pay a premium brand or an expensive price for a downpipe if you want it catless. It's when you want to go catted where it does make sense because of the metal breakdown in the catalytic converter. This is a more efficient catalytic converter than what's in the OEM system. That's what allows it to filter out all of the harmful chemicals and also come in at a much lighter weight than the OEM. So it's not going to be as light as the catless system, but it's going to be in between this and the OEM system. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to have to worry about pulling it out every time that you have to do a smog or emissions or anything like that, then this is the way to go if you're going to run a cat. However, I would just say figure out what else needs work on the car before throwing down $900 on a high flow cat, because with the catted system you're only shedding off about like 20 pounds, and remember, you still have that bottleneck of that honeycomb in the catalytic converter here. So in my opinion, if you're going to run a cat, I would say run the OEM cat until it goes bad, because $900 is a lot to throw down on another catalytic converter. Yes, it's high flow, and maybe if you really track your car and if it really, really matters, then I suppose. It's just hard to justify that $900 price point there. Next up is we have tires. And I would say if your car came with run flats, yes, this is a no-brainer. It makes more sense to get a better tire than run flats. Run flats, I feel, are just a marketing gimmick to get you an extra 50 miles while there's no air in the tire, essentially. But how often does that really happen? Maybe once a year at most, once every 2 years. It's not the most frequent thing in the world, but your driving experience with run flats is terrible. They're loud, they're harsh, and the car doesn't handle as well. I'm not saying that you have to spend something upwards of $1,000 on a set of 4S's from Michelin, which will get you about a 30,000 mile warranty, but something like the all-season 4s from Michelin are an all-season tire. So it's not as sticky as the summer compound with the 4S, but it performs very well. I would say it's 80 to 90% of the tire of the 4S's. And if you don't drive your car that hard, then you'll never really notice. I think I've said this over the last few live streams. I've only slipped in these tires once, and it's in an area that's, ridden with a lot of gravel. Other than that, even during the rainstorms that we've had here in California, I've had no problems with the all-season 4s. And I think the warranty on these is an additional 15,000 over the 4S's. So you're getting an extra 15,000 miles of warranty, and it comes in over $200 less, depending on, the size of your wheels, and if you have a staggered versus a square setup. This is going to fluctuate a little bit. So I have a square setup, a 225, 45, 18 all around on my car, and that came out to about $750. When I did the same thing for the Michelins, I think it was like almost $1,200, I think, if I'm not mistaken at the time. But before, I would only get the 4S's. But then when Michelin, not too long ago, released the all-season 4s and just the reviews that they had on it, I said, I'm going to give it a shot. Michelin's a good company. They're the same ones who are making the 4S's, which I really love. And if professional tire reviewers and companies are saying that the all-season 4s are just as much of a tire as the 4S's in most conditions, then yeah, I'm going to try it. And it hasn't let me down yet. It might actually be the tire that I return back to the next time that I need tires, because of the cost, the longevity, and its performance. Next up is we have a battery. And I'm bringing this up just because I did the video on it not too long ago and the review. This, I would say, it only makes sense from a monetary standpoint if you plan to keep the car for a long time. if you plan to keep the car over 10 years, this can save you money. Somebody messaged me a picture of their battery replacement from the BMW dealership, and it was like $500 with the battery and the coating. So if you do 2 battery changes, you're already past this. Not only that, is the next time you do the other battery change, yes, maybe the service will be the same price. I doubt it, because as people's wages increase on an annual basis, so will the cost of service, and then also the price of the battery will increase. So I'm figuring, let's just say in 5 years' time, let's be moderate here, that $500 will be $550. So now you're at $100 more than doing the anti-gravity battery yourself. And if you coat it yourself, or if you can have a buddy coat it for you like one time, like sometimes even dealers or like private shops will say it's oh, you can't see me apparently. Okay. It's just a black screen. Is anybody else having the same issues as Jordan? You guys can't see me or the presentation at all? Let's see here. Everything on my end looks fine. Yeah, if anybody else can chime in the comment section, if you guys are able to see everything on screen. So right now it should just be me in between the OEM battery and the anti-gravity battery. As far as everything that I see on my system side, it looks fine. But Jordan is saying that it's just a black screen. So give me 1 second. I can try pulling this up on my phone. And no, Jordan, I would say you might want to check your settings, because I just checked it on my phone and Malik is saying down here that you guys can see me. So maybe it's something on your end, Jordan. You guys, you have me really scared there. Okay. Okay, Malik has got some suggestions for you there. Thanks, Malik, for checking in with in on that. Okay, I was really scared there for a second. Okay, so what I was saying is most shops will do like a one-time favor in order to get your business in the future. So they might say something like, okay, it's okay, we'll code your car this one time, or we'll, we will do a check on your car, a pre-purchase inspection on your car this one time. They usually do like a courtesy service like that in order to hopefully garner your business in the future. So it wouldn't be uncommon if you were to install this battery yourself, because the install isn't hard and you only need basic tools. If you install this yourself and you took it to a shop and you just said, hey, would you mind programming it for me? And because of the built-in battery management system, it's going to protect it from overcharging anyways. So if you ran around on this battery for a while without it coated, then it should be fine. And somebody like me and other people here who plan to keep their car for, 10 plus years, this might be worth it. So I would say it's only worth it if you plan to keep your car for a long time. Otherwise, the OEM battery is good enough unless, track time and all of those things are that important to you. Then I would say go ahead and get a lighter weight battery. And then the last thing is when it comes to maintenance, premium brands, does it really matter? Some extent, yes, and some extent, no. I would say the jury is still out when it comes to liquid moly, at least in my book, just because I'm only on my second oil change of liquid moly. I'm not saying that it's performed bad, but it's not, at least in a daily driven perspective, it's not a night and day different. There's nothing dramatic about the liquid moly 540 moly gen to the Castrol 540 blend that I was using before. Now I haven't actually done an examination of the engine bay, but just at least from what we can call the butt dyno, there hasn't been any significant improvement. A lot of people have said AMSOIL is really good, and I've checked out Project Farm's review on it. AMSOIL seems to be a really good brand that a lot of people trust. So if you track your car, if you, again, see yourself having a car for a long time, then maybe AMSOIL is the way to go, but it is a little bit more expensive. There is something to be said about the cost of the oil. If you get an oil that's supposedly cheaper, but you do more frequent oil changes, where 2 oil changes is still not equivalent to one oil change of a more premium brand, then maybe that's a better way to go because you still have fresh oil in the system every single time. So I would say it really depends on the oil, and it really depends on the use of your car. But the OEM filter, the man filter, I would recommend sticking to that. There's no reason to, at least from what I've seen, go with anything other than this. There are other brands that are cheaper, but when it comes to oil filters, just because of the production value involved, I think you get what you pay for here. I mean, it's just a paper filter at the end of the day with a couple of gaskets. And these companies, they don't market all that heavy. Like, when was the last time that you saw a man filter ad on YouTube, on TV, or whatever? Now, Fram, they do a lot of marketing. So you also have to factor in is how much of your money into that oil filter is going to marketing. If a company does almost no marketing, you can factor that most of that is going into R&D and to products, or sorry, not products, but materials to make the product. The coolant, I would stick to BMW coolant. Brakes, personally, I like EBC brakes just because they have different grades for what you're going to use the car for. And I've had no issues with the ones that are like the street version with low dust. Big brake kits, unless you're tracking your car where you need a lot of recovery from your brakes, you're really going to see the most benefit by putting your money into even the stock OEM rotor size. So getting upgraded pads and rotors on a daily driven car is going to be the best result. A big brake kit isn't necessarily going to give you shorter stopping distances than the stock setup. It just makes the brakes more consistent over a short period of consistent braking. And I'm not even referring to stop and go traffic. Like, our brakes and rotors will hold on to that just fine. I'm talking like if you're tracking your car and maybe, there's a lot of winds in the track and you have to brake to maneuver the car. That's where a big brake kit will give you the most benefit. Other than that, it's kind of like a show item. So I would say you could save your money if you don't track your car and just get good pads and rotors. I'm not exactly sure if BMW makes their brake fluid in-house, but the Motul 600 or even the 660, if you can pick it up on sale, is a good option. I have the 660 in my car right now just because it was on sale. Otherwise, the 600 is perfectly fine. Technically, it's a step down. The 660 is like the race style, but for some reason, when it was on sale, it was cheaper than this. So yeah. The only thing is when you go up in tier, when it comes to brake fluid, you're going to have to change it out more frequently just because it's more likely to soak up moisture. And we want to purge the system of as much moisture and debris as possible. So the 660 is perfect for a daily driven car. The 660 is like, if you want the best on the track, or it's not even the best, but it's a step up from this. And then when it comes to spark plugs and coils, I would say stick to OEM unless you've tuned the car to a certain way. Then it makes no sense to stick with the OE coils. You would want to go aftermarket to cater to your tune. The spark plugs, if you do tune your car, you're going to want to go with whoever the tuner recommends. So in boot mode 3, then a lot of people recommend going NGK. And that's exactly what I put. You'll have to gap it as well. But if your car isn't tuned, then just go with the OEM. You don't really see that big of a difference by going to aftermarket. I suppose there's an argument to be said on like if one part is on sale or not, but generally you're not saving that much when it comes to like even the brake fluid. I think it was a difference of like $50. So I mean, I could have just went with the 600, and then I think for like ignition coils, maybe like 20 to $50 is what you would be saving. But then just understand that those premium parts, they tend to wear out a little bit sooner because these are wear items, right? They're not meant to last forever. All of these things are wear items on the screen. It's not something like the charge fiber boost pipe that's going to last for the remainder of the car's life. Now, the surprise that I have for you guys here, if you guys give me 1 second just to hydrate. The surprise that I have for you guys is when it comes to wheels. And for some reason, I got quite a bit of hate for some reason on the wheel stud conversion kit. One, because my tires were showing wires. And, you know, for that, just to touch on the subject that we were talking a little bit about last week, content creation. If you want to make your content, you just got to make it whenever you can. At that time for me, I ordered my tires because I saw that they were bald. But then because I didn't want to drive on bald tires, I just opted to work from home until my new tires came in. And because I didn't have to commute, I had time to make some content. And so I didn't want to wait until my new tires came to make the content. I made it right then and there. And yes, the tires were bald, but it is what it is. A lot of people may hate on it, but if this is something that you guys want to do as far as content creation, the comments do help. I mean, that video is doing well. Same thing with the oil filter housing one. A lot of people are commenting and, you know, making fun of how I say certain words, and that's fine. You know, in a certain way, it's funny that they have so much hate, but then because of their comments and you know, they probably shared it to other people, they're actually paying me to hate on me. And so you guys have to look at it from that perspective as well. But if you guys ever had any issues with that, or if it bothers you, just look at it from that perspective, right? To say, oh, like this person is paying to say something to me, whatever, you know, just take it with a grain of salt. But with that said, is the other thing that I noticed is that a lot of people made fun of, you know, I have rep wheels, and that's fine too, because again, is they're not paying your bills at the end of the day. And for us, if you want to go BBS, that's fine. It'll be a very, very long time and probably a few car changes before you get your supposed return of investment on your BBS wheels. If you go with something like I have on the car right now, which is Oddhon, if you go with Apex wheels, Titan 7, this wheel that I have up here is from Rex Wheels Racing. If you go with a company like that, where yes, maybe they don't have all the prestige and maybe they don't have all the R&D of a BBS, but it's a lighter weight and a stronger wheel than the cast wheel that we get on our OEM cars, or that the OEM cast wheels that come on our cars. Why not? What's wrong with having a middle of the road wheel if you don't got it like that? I mean, honestly, and this isn't saying anything bad about anybody who has BBS, but if you are somebody who's just starting out, if you're saving up for a house, if you have kids, if you have other priorities, if you're taking care of your parents or whatever, and you can't drop like 10 grand on wheels, but you can drop like, you know, 800 to 3,000 on wheels, depending on what your budget is, then there's nothing wrong with that. And people who have a problem with you getting that type of wheel, that's their problem. Honestly, I, as to say as somebody, like, if I'm in your corner, I'll support anybody who gets whatever wheel that they want for whatever reason, looks, weight, performance, anything, and I would say own it. Don't get a wheel like this Rex racing wheel and then claim that it's a BBS FIR. I mean, yes, they are designed to kind of look like that, but just own it. Just say, hey, it's a rep wheel. It is what it is. And if the person wants to hate, that's their own issue. You could always, retort and say, if you're willing to buy me a BBS wheel, I'll sport it. But until you start paying my bills, this is what I got. And that it is what it is. Don't let it bother you too much. And people on the internet, they're brave to say things when they have the comfort knowing that they probably would never see you in real life. So I hope that helps some people remove the stigma of rep wheels, or like what people would say online. It doesn't matter. Stick to your budget, stick to what you like, what you're willing to pay for, because at the end of the day, it's your car, it's your build. And I actually talked with the Rex Racing wheels today. So I was trying to work out something with Apex, because I'm in a Discord group and a lot of people seem to like the new Apex wheels that came out, not the ones that came out today, but the other one, the one that's similar to this. And so, I just we weren't able to come to terms. And it's not saying that it won't happen in the future, but with Rex Racing Wheels, I got off the phone with them today, and they said that they would be open to doing a group buy that, I help kind of organize. So if you guys want, you guys can head over to rexracingwheels.com. And if there's something there that you guys like, they said that we would probably restrict the group buy to maybe 1 to 2 styles and then 1 to 2 sizes. So I was telling them that maybe we could do like something like a staggered set and a square setup, where the square setup overlapped into the staggered setup. And if there are a lot of people here for the 2 Series or the smaller chassis cars, I would say I personally recommend going with an 8-inch wheel. 8.5, you do run into a little bit of problems in the front if you want a square setup, if you're not dialing it in with camber and control arms and all of that. If budget is a concern, but you want upgraded wheels, I would say we should stick to the 8-inch wheel, and then like a 35 offset is fine. I think that would work perfectly fine. Even if you got a little bit of a meatier tire setup, it should still be okay. And so that's something that we could do if that's what a lot of people want. I could help organize that. Unless there's something else that you guys would want, then I can see if I can get something going on that. Otherwise, like I said, these more affordable wheel companies, I would say is probably what is best for most people out there. Because Jordan just said that, dropping that much money, dropping like $12,000 on BBS wheels doesn't make sense. Some people who have the disposable income, it makes sense to them. But for the mass market of people, it doesn't. And I agree with Jordan. I would say this, when it comes to this aspect of things, before we jump into the Q&A, remember that like Lamborghini and Ferrari, like just those car companies on their own, I think the last time I checked, and it's been a while, but at the time, they're ranked in the millions of dollars as far as net worth. But Toyota is $1 billion company because they cater to the mass market, and their business model is, a volume versus, per unit charge. So a lot of people might make fun of people who have Toyotas, Hondas, and things like that, and they say, oh, they don't got a lot of money or whatever, which I don't agree is the right thing to do. To each their own. However, all the people who are saying that would probably rather own Toyota than Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, whatever. I mean, I sure would. And with that, like I said, this is just to kind of hopefully make the car community a little bit of a better place. And hopefully I did that a little bit today. So with that, we'll open it up for Q&A. And let's see what we got here. Jordan just said that it's funny how he ordered his catless VRSF downpipe this morning. Oh, congrats, man. Another thing that I would say too, while we're on this subject, is the catless downpipe. If you're thinking about doing an exhaust system, do the downpipe first. The stock exhaust with a catless downpipe sounds amazing. If you wanted to save some money and did a muffler delete like on an N20, I just heard one the other day, it sounds pretty good. Catted, no muffler, the N20 sounds pretty good. Had a deep tone to it. It wasn't sharp at all or annoying. It sounded nice. I was a little jealous. Let's see here. And then if you guys have something that you want to address with me, maybe privately, you guys can always message me on Instagram. And then I'm also on TikTok at VroomTuber. Mayor, I got a 2013 328i. I think you meant to say X-Drive, maybe. Has around 114,000 kilometers. Haven't done any performance mods yet. What would you recommend for a first mod? If you want like most bang for your buck performance, you could do that high flow filter. It's going to be the cheapest and easiest thing to do. You don't really have to worry about the charge pipe on that car. The boost pipe, I had an issue with. Mine actually cracked, so keep an eye out for that. I would say as far as mods go, make sure you have that money ready to go whenever it's time. Okay, let's see here. Car Snob, how's it going? I'm not sure how to say your name. I'm going to call you JW for now, okay, if you don't mind. On my second change with Liquid Moly 2 using 530 in SoCal. Okay, yeah, SoCal, it's warmer weather there than it is up here in Northern California. So I'm actually interested. What engine are you running? And have you noticed anything like you're losing oil over time? Yeah, what engine? And then have you noticed anything with that? And did you come from a different weight oil? Soul Slinger, how's it going? I changed the oil on an X5 last weekend. The oil filter exploded, into pieces when I pulled it out. I think the shop my buddy has been going to never change it. That's terrible. Yeah, just so you guys know, like these filters, they're not running that much pressure. And like a brand new oil filter should hold up. Yeah. And I agree with Soul Slinger. Like if an oil filter has exploded or gone through something like that, it's either there's something very wrong with the engine or it hasn't been changed at all. And so I would say if the car is running fine and if the oil looks, like normal used oil, then they probably haven't changed it in a while. That's terrible. And it disintegrated into his hand. That is if that engine's fine, if it's not making any weird noises or anything, I agree with you, man. They have not changed it in a long time. Jordan, I have Audhon AFF7 wheels and love them so much. 1200 for 4, can't beat it. Yep, I have the Audhons on my car too. The only thing that bothered me about them was the whole warranty process with that. They ended up changing their warranty policy after I made that video. But as far as the wheel itself, like if I was buying the wheel today under the warranty that they have, I have no issue with it. It was buying it under the terms and conditions of the old warranty that I have an issue with. But buying them now under their current warranty, yeah, they're a perfect budget option. And I do have a soft spot for, you know, local businesses. This is actually like Audhon is like, I think not even 15 minutes away from my house. And that's why I forgot. I think I was on the fence between them and somebody else. And then I found out that they were based in California, like really close to me. And so that's why I went with them. I think Rex Racing Wheels is down in Southern Cal. And this is what I was referring to earlier with Jordan, is that he was saying about the buying $12,000 BBSs makes no sense unless you're doing shows and have the big bucks to justify the cost. Yes. I have a friend who has run BBSs on his car. He's run Apexes on his car. If you have the disposable income, you can do whatever you want. And a lot of the time, like I said earlier, is like people who are hating something that I didn't touch on earlier, is that they don't have like BBSs. Like they don't have, like they make fun of you for not having a thing when it's really them who's lacking. Usually it's something like that. So don't ever let what any other, username 12345 person says on social media bother you at all. It's your car. Do what you got to do. At the end of the day, if you pay $12,000 for a set of wheels that you can't afford, they're not going to come to your rescue. So as somebody who's kind of doing this, making some side money from this, buy rep wheels. As long as the wheels are safe, the load rating is safe, what's wrong with it? If the load rating is safe, you like the design of the wheel, it fits on the car, you do you. And Jordan is asking about BM3. What are your thoughts on BM3 and MHD for tunes? I'm looking to get my tune in a few weeks. I have to install my downpipe and I'll be ready to flash. I can't speak on MHD. I haven't used it. BM3, I like all the conveniences that it has. So how easy it is to tune, as well as they also give you something in the app to read codes. So I like the whole overall package of BM3. I think it makes everything pretty convenient. The fact that you can save tunes onto the app now, and it runs pretty quick. So I would still recommend, like the first time, it does take a while, go ahead and slap on a battery tender just so that your battery doesn't drain all the way, and then tune it. But just because it's so popular and because people know how to navigate it, like the community on it is, I think, at least from what I've seen, for my use purposes as a daily, BM3 is sufficient for a daily driver, and it's not too much. Of course, you could tune it to do all the pops, bangs, and things like that, but just the off-the-shelf tune, it's perfectly fine. It doesn't draw too much attention if you have a more professional workplace environment when you're coming in and leaving work. That's why I like it. And Jordan is saying that he likes BM3 mainly because it comes with XHP ready already, whereas MHD you would have to be a separate person. Okay, yeah, that is something to consider. Fernando, have to let us know you're going live prior. Almost missed the video. Oh, okay, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I listed this. I forgot when maybe I put it up today. Maybe I should do it like a day or two sooner. And then I was a little late today. I had a little bit of a hiccup here at work. I will next time though. Sorry about that. Mayor, I'm looking to upgrade the exhaust to look more like the 335 dual, maybe quad tips. I'm also looking to tune the car as well, so I'm kind of looking for advice as to what performance mod to do first. I would still say, if money's a concern, do the downpipe first. That's where I guess you'll be able to know whether you want to spend that much on an exhaust. Depending on which exhaust company you go with, it can get pretty pricey. And then if you want to do quad tips or even the dual exit tips, you're going to have to change the bumper too, or you're going to have to cut yours. And if you cut it, it's not going to look the best. I would say if you plan to do like the M performance of the 335, get a 335 bumper. If you plan to do dual exit on both ends, you could cut it. Because you're going to do dual exit, that first one that you have that's already there, as much as you can, try to, if you can, I would say like take a sheet of paper to get the exact dimensions of it, space it out appropriately on the other side, draw it, and then cut it exactly to that. That way you don't have to buy a whole brand new bumper. Unless you like the design of like an M3, M4 bumper, then go with that. But I would say do the downpipe first, and then assess if you really want quad tip or dual exit, and then the single dual exit, go with a 335 exhaust or bumper, and then if you do dual exit to save some money, I would just cut it. You could look up Keys Motorsports. They did an install just like this. They use AWE, but it would be the same thing if you went with like an M Performance bumper. Okay, so thanks for getting back to me. JW is saying that his exhaust, he did a second oil change of liquid moly, and he's in Southern Cal running 530. He has an N55 2016 M235i, and he used the same weight as last time and returned the oil to FCP Euro 2. Yes, so to save money on oil changes, if they have the oil that you want for your car, FCP Euro and their return process is excellent to save money. So it's not necessarily a free oil change because you have to pay for the UPS shipping, which depending on where you live could be like 20, 30 bucks. But oil is upwards of $50 now, $60 if you get the oil filter. And so it's a cheaper oil change. And for basically, if you were to pay that at a shop, you'd be getting a lesser quality of oil too. So a really good bang for your buck there. Thanks for throwing that in. Oh, and you're running 530, actually. That's right. I hope you don't mind me asking you another question, man. What is your fuel economy? I can get anywhere, and I commute like freeway mileage. I think I commute 20 to 25 one way, and it's usually just a straight shot. Traffic isn't too bad when I need to come into work and when I leave work, and I can average about 20 to 21 miles per gallon on 540. So I'm wondering if there's a significant difference in fuel economy, because generally that's why BMW is running to thinner and thinner weight oil, because it's less wear and tear on the engine. And so because it's a thinner oil, it's more efficient, but also because the tolerances in the spaces for the engine is so small, it needs a thinner weight oil to get into all the crevices. A thicker oil wouldn't be able to properly lubricate the engine in time, especially under load. So that's one of the reasons why BMW is going with thinner weight oil. JW, a $70 credit and $22 postage. So great deal. So he's coming up about like $50. And remember, he's shipping to FCP Euro from Southern California. So if you guys are in that area, this is kind of what you can expect once you start cashing in on that return warranty. JW, I'll rewind the video to see what you said about the 0W40. Oh, I'm running 540. Sorry about that. If I said 0, I meant to say 5W40. Jordan, you're very welcome. Thanks for checking in with the live stream as well. And I'm glad that it got resolved earlier as well too. JW, MST turbo inlet pipe delivered next week. Oh, great. If you're going to install it yourself, it's super easy. Just because you can put in the coupler first and then cinch that down, and then you throw on the silicone hose. It's so easy. And it just gives you that peace of mind. If you pull out your stock one, don't be surprised if it comes out. I use the analogy. If you guys ever had like cereal or chips, you know, at the bottom, it's like all like crumbs. That's how it felt pulling that turbo inlet pipe out. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is awful. Jordan, I need to do an inlet on mine after I do the tune. Hope it works well for you. Right on. Yeah. If the turbo inlet pipe really, really goes bad, you'll get a check engine light. Just because like in the N55 engine, everything is so tight and compact in there. You could actually, and I'm not saying you should, but if money's tight, everything is so squished in there, even if it is cracked, like the seal is more or less good. Like you probably do have an air leak in there, but it's not to the point in which that you would even get a check engine light because the loss in pressure is so minimal. I would say like, I would still encourage you to do the charge pipe before the turbo inlet pipe, because when the charge pipe goes bad, that's a relatively open area. There's nothing that's going to be able to hold that in. The turbo inlet pipe, the reason why it can hold into place so well is one, because of the area that it's in. It's on the opposite side. It's so cramped there, but also it's carrying unpressurized air. So there's nothing really stressful internally about it other than the fact that it's right next to the hot turbo. JWB flat rate. Oh, that's right. Oh man, dude, you coming in clutch. Nice. Thank you so much for saying this. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you. So despite what I said earlier about shipping rates, here we go. Flat rate box from the post office, $22. 7 liters fits in there snug. There we go. So it's $22 for everybody in the United States. Man, that was a gem. That was a gem. I don't know if I could give like one of those applaud sound effects right now. If I was more tech savvy, I definitely would do that for you right now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. JW is saying he doesn't commute. He just drives it like he stole it. I think my fuel economy isn't great. I should look at that. Okay. Yeah. Whenever you can, if you want to, you can always shoot me a DM too. I'll be more than happy to hear what you have to report. If it's anything like that comment earlier, man, I'm looking really forward to it. Dylan, thoughts on aluminum charge pipe from AliExpress for N55? Here's what I'll say. Look at the price. You have to determine whether and I don't know how much it is on AliExpress, but you're going to have to determine whether or not that it's worth the wait, if it's worth not having the back end support of something like VRSF's lifetime warranty, and if the fit and finish is going to be correct. Now, I will admit, VRSF stuff, I'm pretty sure they're making everything in China, and I wouldn't be surprised if the manufacturer for AliExpress also makes stuff for VRSF. However, VRSF probably has like a quality control system in place. Like maybe they say, we'll accept everything within, an 80% tolerance, and then we'll throw everything else out. If that same manufacturing plant is making things for this company from AliExpress, they might be taking in 100%. So it's not to say that it's bad. You might get a good one, but you might get one that might even be outside of the tolerances of VRSF. So you just have to evaluate it. I would say look at the finish of the product from AliExpress, VRSF has that kind of wrinkle black finish. I think FTP, if I have it right, is another company. They have like a smooth black finish. It's kind of like a rough texture. It's not like gloss. It's more like a matte finish. Whatever the one from AliExpress looks like, closest to whatever manufacturer, that's probably who is the manufacturing plant that it's coming out of. And I would say look at reviews of that company, and if that company is doing okay, if they don't have a lot of people saying like, oh, it didn't fit or whatever, then you're probably fine. You just have to weigh, is it worth it not having the warranty, and is it worth it waiting the extra time and shipping? But Jordan is saying don't do it, but VRSF. Yeah. If you're getting it for like $25, maybe, but you also have to evaluate, you might be getting something that's worth $25. That's the only thing. Stereo sound agent. If you're doing a turbo inlet, prepare to buy a new crankcase vent hose because it's before installing it, FYI. I think it's like $55 online and costs me $140 from BMW over the counters same day. Okay. This one I can speak to just a little bit. If you, how do I want to say this? If you can somehow retain 3 out of the 4 clips, you'll be fine. So on my car right now, and I did this a long time ago, one of my clips is broken actually. So only 3 clips are holding it in, but I changed out the hose. So that ribbed hose with that sleeve on it, I replaced it for a silicone hose. If you guys look back to when I did the oil catch can video, as well as the MST turbo inlet pipe video, that's when I replaced the hose. Stereo sound agent is correct. That thing is a pain to manage, and it's most likely going to break. But if you can somehow salvage that flange, like one way would be, don't remove the 4 prongs, just get a silicone hose, and then what you could do is you could just cut the plastic hose from the crankcase side and then pull it off of the flange. Or you could just cut around it and then, cut it out later. But basically you leave the flange attached to the crankcase. Do the turbo inlet pipe, and then I think they give you, no, you have to save the flange on the opposite side too. But then it's easy to connect the flanges. You just cut a piece of silicone tubing to the exact same length as the OEM one, and then you just reattach it that way with hose clamps. It's a low pressure system, just basic screw clamps will work. If you guys go back at that video, that's what I would recommend. I would not pay $140 for this. I don't know how much it is, but I don't doubt that it'd be something ridiculous like that. Depending on how long ago he did this too, the prices might have went up. Just because that's just the nature of things. Stereo sound agent, do you mind me asking how long ago that happened? Yeah, that's ridiculous. You could buy silicone tubing for like dirt cheap compared to this. Oh my goodness. Yeah, $140, I would not. If you can keep the flanges and just reattach it with silicone and some screw clamps, that's what I would recommend. Dylan, does VRSF downpipes bring in check engine light? If so, is there any stage 0 tunes to get rid of this? Yes. So BM3 will manage that check engine light. And you will get a check engine light. It might not happen right away, but it will happen. When I did the test of the downpipe without the tune, during that video, I don't think I had a check engine light, but not too long before that, right before I put in the tune, it did turn on. Jordan, if on stock tune, we'll get a check engine light, but I'm not sure. I don't think it's worth putting downpipe on a stock tune. Won't get much power benefits other than better sound. Yes, you will get better sound for sure. There's a slight performance, but Jordan, you're absolutely right. You will get the most benefit when you do the tune. I mean, if you're like on a budget and you're doing this in steps, like I guess you could do a downpipe before you do the tune. Like I said, you're dropping about 20 something pounds. You do get better sound if you don't mind the check engine light. And then if you're like a month out, like if you're doing this in between paychecks, if you're a month or 2 months out from getting the tune and you really don't want to wait, then yeah, you know, if you anticipate like you have time now to work on your car, but you might not have time later on. You know, some people's work, it gets busier in different seasons of the year. So say like you have a lot of free time now because it's a slower part of the year for you and you have time to install a downpipe, then yeah, go ahead, do the downpipe. And then doing the tune, you're just literally sitting on your car. You could do it like when you get home or, you know, it takes like a few minutes. So I would say it really depends on your situation, but that's one way. Dylan, I compared the AliExpress and VRSF, looks almost identical. I really appreciate your input though. I'll probably end up going with VRSF just for safety. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I hope that works out for you. VRSF's always been good to me. I've done collaborations with them since I've done the intercooler and charge pipe install on the M235i. They're pretty responsive. So, you know, I recommend them to anybody who's just doing something like this. Yeah. And I haven't heard anything really negative coming back from them. Shipping is usually prompt. The product fit and finish is usually good. And JW agrees. Jordan, yeah, I have VRSF on mine. Fitment is great and very snug. No boost leaks. I will agree to that as well. Mayor, would you need to go stage 1 first or can jump straight given you have everything needed for stage 2? If you have boot mode 3 and you just pay the extra $50 for all the off-the-shelf tunes, you can go with whatever you want. I think stage 1, you don't necessarily need any mods at all. However, I would recommend if you do go stage 1 that you do at least the charge pipe. Just because, like I said, you know, that stock boost is, it's unreliable. Let's see here. Dylan, currently a college student, 2011, 535, am I reading that right? Not really looking for performance, just sound, want to maintain as much reliability as I can as I plan to keep this car forever. Okay. Yeah. Downpipe into tune is the best way to go, is the most efficient way to go as far as money. And then reassess after that. Because if you really think about it, once you get an exhaust, that's it. You get better sound and a little bit better performance. But for the same price of potentially a premier exhaust, you get a downpipe, you're going to get better sound. It might not necessarily be the exact sound you're looking for, but it's going to be better than what you have. And then when you get the tune, your car is going to run better. If you get something like BM3 that includes a code reader, that's money that you don't have to spend on a code reader. And then being able, if you think about it, a diagnosis check from a dealership, a specialty shop that runs upwards of like $100 to $150, depending on who and where you are. And so it's going to save you that money as well, because you're going to be able to diagnose things on your own. So downpipe and tune. I would say, I know that it costs more, the tune, but I would prioritize the tune over the downpipe even. If time is not of a constraint, like I said earlier, if you have free time now and you might not have free time later, then I would say do the downpipe first. But if time is relatively consistent for you, I would prioritize the tune first. And Jordan is saying, don't do the downpipe without a tune. Might cause you big headaches. just do muffler and resonator delete if you want that aggressive sound. It's a good point too. Yeah, you could do that as well. Good point, Jordan. Yeah, Dylan, I think Jordan's suggestion or mine is fine. Like I said, I do financial planning, so I would say it's almost like a step up from a bank almost. So quite a professional setting. Like for me, like this sweater for me is like dressing down. And so when it came to doing an exhaust, I didn't want to do anything crazy. And I wanted something that gave me some performance benefits. So that's why I ended up with a downpipe, and I still haven't done an exhaust yet. So if you listen to the anti-gravity battery install, I did a startup comparison, and the 5-second intro to the videos, that is exactly how my car sounds with the downpipe and the amp performance muffler. If you're okay with that, then that is the downpipe and muffler. But honestly, just go on YouTube and search up, your car with this exhaust, your car with a downpipe, your car with a resonator delete, a muffler delete, whatever it is. And then based off of that, you're going to be able to tell. It's not going to sound exactly like that, but it should put you in the ballpark of what you want. All right. And yeah, I knew that you meant obnoxious. Yeah. Right on. And I don't think that you would be, if you did any one of those now, if you did a cat delete, a resonator delete, a muffler delete, and an aggressive tune, then you're obnoxious. If you do these things in stages and segments, you won't. At that point, if you do it in segments and you end up being obnoxious, you're trying to be obnoxious. If you do it in stages, it's incremental. Rodrigo, when I made stage 2 plus, I changed intercooler, downpipe, and intake, but there's something weird with the temperature EGT before turbo. Now I'm having like 700 to 800 degree when I push the engine. Electronic wastegate. I don't know why it's reading that. Maybe just the sensor is bad potentially. Only thing I can think of is maybe the sensor has gone bad. It got loosed. It got like loose somehow and ended up repositioned in a weird way. Like that's crazy weird. I think that's a sensor issue because there's no way. I mean, if you were running that hot, like the car would melt. So it's obviously something is wrong, and I would start at the sensor. But you have all the appropriate mods, downpipe, intake, intercooler, charge, all of the things to run a reliable stage 2. What numbers do I have? I don't really have the numbers per se. But let's see here. If I go on if we go here on, let's see here. Let's see, let's look at BM3 N55 dyno. This is probably what I have, just like generic stuff on mine, nothing too special. So this is probably what I have around, the 370s as far as total horsepower. Yeah, the downpipe, the brand's not going to matter for downpipe, charge pipe, especially if you're running catless. 5-inch intercooler, drop-in filter, gapped appropriately. Okay, the tune could be different because MHD. but it'd be close to that. Okay, so we're seeing some other numbers here. It also does depend on which gas you use, but generally speaking, yeah, like high threes. And CarSnob is also saying that VRSF has an affiliate program. Yeah, so if they see that you're making good, consistent content, they will bring you on as a content creator. It does take a little bit. So I would say if you haven't heard back from them after the application in like a month, just reach out to them and ask them. CarSnob, if I ever get a Beamer. And then when you get one, you might want another one. Dylan, not really interested in a tune for performance benefits. Just looking for a more aggressive, non-obnoxious sound. You might have to go with Jordan's suggestion then. Resonator, muffler, delete. Yep. JW. Ooh, let me see what we were talking about earlier. Not the right one. I'm sorry, I forgot what we were talking about earlier. I'm trying to look back too. If you don't mind, could you refresh my memory on what you're referring to here? Stereo sound agent. I did it in October 2020. Okay, only 1 year ago. So your pricing is probably the same as before. For the let's see here. What you said was it cost $140. So the price is probably the same. Okay, so you're saying one dealership offered it for $100, but it wasn't in stock and needed to get the car running the same day. Like the suggestion of cutting the hose. Yeah. I had saw that, like, as far as like the cutting the hose thing and reusing it. I forgot which video I saw, but I saw it and I was like, it's just a hose without any special adapters or whatever. If I use a silicone hose, what could be the harm? It's only carrying essentially the blow by, you know, to a certain extent. That's all that it's carrying is the vaporized oil, essentially, those gases, which used to just go to the ground. And I pushed that towards the oil catch can, and I've barely caught any oil in that. If you guys saw this short on it, I have yet to drain it, and it's been like 2 or 3 years. Dylan, does VRSF downpipes bring a check engine light? If you don't code it out, yes. If so, are there any stage 2.0 tunes to get rid of this? I don't. Oh, this is the old question. Sorry. When I scrolled up, I did not. But yeah, so yeah, we did answer this one already. So that's where we were at earlier. Stereo sound agent. Vegeta's. Hey Fritz, much love from Canada, man. Thank you. Thank you. What time is it over there for you? This is one of the things that I love about like YouTube, social media. You know, earlier I talked about like some of the downfalls, but this is what I love is that we can get in people from all over the place. I have people who have messaged me from Hawaii, Australia. It's just amazing that we're all able to connect, and, you know, like all of us who have like common interests and things like that, like the world is a smaller place and we can make it all better and be part of the same community. So that's what I really love about doing stuff like this. So I'm very happy that you're here and from Canada. It doesn't mean that I don't like people who are local though. I like everybody. It's amazing, right? Because, you know, you go to a car show, you do a Cars and Coffee, you know the local people, but, you know, doing stuff like this, it gives you a chance to connect with people that you would never get to meet before. So very happy to have you here. Oh, and thanks for the super chat. Dylan, just stumbled across your channel and appreciate your input. Off to do some homework, but I really appreciate it once again. We'll be back. Awesome. Be more than happy to have you. And good luck with your studies. 1,000 miles of driving and 19.6 miles per gallon according to iDrive. You're probably around the same ballpark as I am. I found that the iDrive is a little bit more conservative. Oh, I don't want to say this. In certain aspects, it's more conservative with the numbers. Like that one, I think mine says the exact same thing. But when I fill up on gas, I don't top off. So whenever it stops, it stops. According to the mileage that I put in versus how much I fill up with fuel, that's how I was grading it. I'm not doing it off of the iDrive calculation. But I know in certain aspects, it gives you like crazy numbers like 25 or 28, sometimes 30. That is not right. That's interesting, actually. So you're at 530, but you drive your car much harder than I do, I'm assuming. So with 530 and your driving characteristics compared to mine, you're averaging about the same. I'm going to assume that it's the same. That's pretty good. Jesus, just wanted to stop in and show some love. Hopefully everyone is blessed. Thank you for dropping in and blessing us with your presence, man. Yeah, very happy to see you in here. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you. JW, just looked at the crankcase hose. Those clips look like they will break just looking at them. Yes, they will. They will absolutely break. Just cut the hose. Just cut the rib section close to the thing. And then if you can, it's very easy to slide in a silicone hose. For the appropriate diameter, just check out that video. Everything that I have linked there, it's still on the car today. Mayor, for the downpipe, you recommend catted or catless? Okay, if you have to smog your car, all right, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Okay, if you have to smog your car, I'm not going to tell anybody to break the law. You can read into that as you will. However, if you want the most performance, of course, catless. So like those are just two objective things, right? Smog comes around every 2 years or so, and let's just say you never throw out your cat. So I hope you can read into exactly what I'm trying to say right now, okay? But Jesus, get the cat unless you don't mind the smell of exhaust. I'm going to let the comment section handle this question, but I think you have my opinion. I run the part that I do, and it's still on the car today, so I'll leave it at that. The exhaust smell, if you're in a lot of stop and go traffic, you will smell it. If you are in a lot of free-flowing traffic, it doesn't really come up as an issue. Okay, so if Jesus in Canada, 7:53, you're an hour ahead of me. So I'm over here in California, so I guess you're just a little towards the east, I guess. For us, if I'm not mistaken, for us here in the US, we call it mountain time. I think mountain time is an hour ahead. So you're kind of in that. I think I know which part of Canada you're in based off of that. Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad that you're here, even though you're an hour ahead. Some people on the East Coast can't make it because it's like 3 hours ahead. So cool. JW, I put a link from ECS for crankcase hose. Wrong one. Okay, thanks for letting everybody know. And Sapphire F22 takes 50 to 100 miles for the car to turn the check engine light as far as the downpipe. All right. So, Dylan, I'm not sure if you're still in here with us, but Sapphire had that info in for you, asking about the check engine light. Thanks for chiming that one in. As far as turning it off too, I don't know what it is. I remember when I had to do the turbo inlet pipe for the F30, I don't think it was like 50. I think it was like I ran around the block for a little bit and it was okay after that. JW, crankcase vent hose is 64. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, so stereo sound agent. Yeah, BMW charged you like over double for just the part and then another like $40 to get it in. So oh my goodness. Yeah, I hate how they got one over on you. That's why people call them this dealership. Oh my goodness. I think even those prices is still more expensive than a silicone hose. So I would still say go silicone because it's not going to break. And if you ever need to do anything that requires you to remove the downpipe later on, maybe easier access to whatever thing that you need to do, it's not going to break. Silicone is very pliable in that respect. Stuff like this kind of upsets me about BMW. Like when we talked about earlier the charge pipe, because BMW has their own plastic manufacturing and carbon fiber plant. That's why the carbon fiber interior pieces, you don't see them from anybody else. That weave, that design is very specific to BMW. And then that's why they use a lot of plastic in their engine baits, because they have their own plastic manufacturing plant. So it's not like it's not like they're outsourcing this stuff. Like they make this stuff themselves, and they make it like really expensive, and they make it really cheap. So stuff like that does upset me. But Jesus, yep, I'm in Alberta. Okay, I have another buddy who messaged me or comments a lot on the YouTube videos. Thomas, I wonder if he's in your area. If he is, I will try to link the two of you up together if you guys don't already know each other. Another thing that I like about doing this stuff is that, even locally, sometimes you don't know other people, but, through this type of stuff, we can bring people together. So I hope you guys are in the same area. He's a pretty nice guy too. Car snob, we like the cars, yeah. The cars that go. Mm-hmm. Boom. Oh, all of the emojis, all of the things right there. Right on. Oh my goodness. But Jesus is getting in on the fun too. Stereo sound. Yeah, it hurt. Yeah, that crankcase hose. Yeah, some things I just don't recommend going OEM. So today's topic was buying the premium stuff. Silicone isn't necessarily premium, but I guess compared to plastic, it is, and it's cheaper than that crankcase hose. So in that respect, the premium product is more beneficial than going OEM. So save money, you get a premium product. Win-win. Yes, sir, bro. That would be awesome. Love meeting fellow BMW. Yes, if I can, I'm going to try to look from one of his comments. He actually watched one of the live streams after the live stream. I'm going to try to put you guys in contact for sure. Yeah, he's a nice guy. I like him. So, and you've always been pleasant too. So I'm sure that the two of you would enjoy each other's company. And then who knows, maybe you guys get like a little, like a small BMW group going, and then it grows into a bigger one and a bigger one and a bigger one. Mayor, glad to have caught this live. Very informative as well. Appreciate the knowledge and insight. Of course, yeah. If you have any questions, like I said, that maybe we didn't get to, if you want to ask anything in private, you could always DM me on Instagram here. I'm more than happy to help. Like I said, and through these things, like I would have never met Car Snob or Soul Slinger. So I'm happy that, I'm here with you guys. And then, like I said, I would like, if Jesus and Thomas had like a little car club that grew in size over time. I think here in the Bay Area too, where I'm at, the car scene has gotten a bad reputation because of some of the irresponsible actions that people have taken as of late. And then people highlight that and they say like, oh, we're not whatever. But I know that people here are good people. And if they, started a community, then they would promote like a good car culture, and then it wouldn't get a bad rep. And then if cops came to the shows or whatever, then they wouldn't give people a hard time. And that it's just an area for people to hang out, get to know each other, and relax. There doesn't have to be burnouts, donuts, excessive revving to your heart's content, because we have to be conscious of other people as well. And I think, we're doing that here. So for Jesus, that's why he loves the BMW community, like me, like all of us. We all all common interests, and the internet kind of brings us together. Absolutely, yes. I said I'm happy you're here. I'm happy that everybody is here, and I think we will make it a better place. I think if you guys are in the Bay Area, and on like Instagram, check out my buddy Obsessed Studios. He's actually the one who taught me like how to film all of the things that I do now, like all the B-roll shots. He does car meets, and he is very good at, monitoring like no revving, no burnouts, no donuts, things like that. And he's building out a good car community. So I think that that's something that maybe you could do for us in Canada. So we'll do it, one group at a time, and we'll all be better for it. Matt Davidson, good stuff as always. Thanks for it. No problem. Glad to have you here, Matt. Happy to help. Oh, Soul Slinger, I missed one of yours earlier. Let me go back. Oh, Soul Slinger, you got this. Thank you. We got this. All of us together. Mayor, you got any other people in Ontario? Mayor, if that's where you're from, if anybody here in the chat, if you guys are in the area, please don't be shy. Share where you're from, your social media handles, all of that stuff. Share it. Let people know where you're from. If you guys can connect, it doesn't just have to be me. I would love for you guys to get to know each other as well. Soul Slinger. So getting back to your other one, my BMWs are older, but it's cool to get on this 02 540M Sport and the dreaded 027. You got the big boys. Right on. Yeah, man. I mean, hey, you know what? Honestly, I can't speak to this stuff, and you were immensely helpful in like the last few live streams consistently, because you can speak to these. I can't speak to these cars. I haven't had these cars. I don't know anything about them. I mean, like general BMW stuff, right? Like, wheel torque spec, the something like that, right? Something generic like that. But these cars way better than I do. So if people on the live stream have questions on this, I'm happy to have you here too. So Mayor, you're in Ontario, Canada. If anybody's in Mayor's area, let them know. Mayor, if you got social media, Instagram, let people know. Let people know how to contact you. That way, even after the live stream, if they're in your area, they can message you. JW, have a great night, gents. Gotta find a stream of the Lakers game. Right on. And also glue a mini tail light cover back together. Good luck with that, with both of those things. Thanks for hanging out with us and sharing your insight today. You were very helpful. Thank you so much. Jonas, will BM3 or MHD remove the check engine light caused by the catalyst downpipe? I can't speak to MHD, but BM3 it will. Sapphire F22 is saying yes. I'm not sure if he's saying yes to both or just one. But thank you for confirming that. Stage 2G. What mileage should I replace the main belt on my F32? If I'm not mistaken, every 30 to 40,000 miles. If you just got the car and you haven't seen it, just take a look. If you see like white stress marks while it's still, just change it out. If you run the car and you see like inconsistent light reflections off of the belt, like it looks like they're different shades of black, like it might look matte, it might look shiny, something like that, and it's not caused by the light itself, like it's like when you move the light, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Replace the belt. It should cost $20, like off FCP Euro, something like that. Don't buy it from the dealership. We were on a little rant with that. Don't buy it from the dealership. FCP Euro and their lifetime warranty. It's awesome. Rodrigo, thanks Fritz for your videos. After every video, you encourage me to spend more money on mods. Good stuff. I mean, the goal isn't necessarily to encourage people to spend money, but to save money when these things happen. I'm not saying that you guys have to do them the exact same time that I do. But when these things occur, you know, the belts, the gaskets, the oil changes, things like that, then hopefully the videos were detailed enough to give you insight on how to do it yourself if you're trying to save some money. And then, you know, we sprinkle in a little bit of modifications that aren't necessarily maintenance related. But that's part of the fun, right? You know, you get to do what you get to do with your car what you please. Soul Slinger, I plan to make some videos on them in time. I'm looking forward to it. You make those videos, man. You tag me in them. I want to, or you just send them to me, whatever. I want to see them. I'm looking forward to when you do. Soul Singer, have a good night, man. See you next week. Will do. Looking forward to it. Thanks for hopping in. Pilar, what mileage would you recommend changing the water pump on the M235i? Ooh, this one, I can't remember. I want to say sometimes it's recommended around 70, but I mean, I have mine still and I haven't changed it yet. I would say look up FCP Euro. They have the mileage areas there. I mean, they last for a while. It wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world to, like, if you see it on sale, you just pick one up, and then whenever you have time to not have your car, you can get it replaced if you're past that interval. Or if you plan to do like other upgrades, like if you do everything yourself, you could always wait until you do something related, like the oil filter housing gasket. You have to drain some coolant. So at that time, it would make sense because the system is already pretty dry. If you plan to do a radiator upgrade or replacement, it makes sense. So you could always just buy it and hold off until something coolant related pops up, and then you could always do it then. What do you do besides YouTube? I mean, as far as car content, I mean, like I said, I'm on TikTok and on Instagram, but for like my 9 to 5 work, I do financial planning. That's what I was alluding to earlier with the downpipe and the tune. Because I do financial planning, and sometimes I meet clients, sometimes at their place of business. Some of them are business owners. Some of them, I meet them at their homes where they have families or whatever. And I know that my first impression with them starts before I walk through the door. And so that's why I didn't want to get a very, very aggressive exhaust system, or that's why I just run the off the stage stage 2 tune. It's in order to moderate that aspect of my life. And so I haven't gotten any real complaints. And if I were to do an exhaust, I might do something like maybe AWE, Remus, maybe. Remus sounds a little bit too raspy in my opinion. That's kind of pushing the limits as far as what I think would be acceptable to my clients. So AWE is okay. And I will admit, having the exhaust flap there, I know some people hate it, but having the exhaust flap, I will admit, every time I go into an appointment or I'm headed to a client, like when I turn that last corner, or like when the GPS says like you're 2 minutes away, it's Eco Pro all the way. I probably am in Sport Plus 90% of the time, or 99% of the time. The 1% I'm in Eco Pro, it's right when I'm about to hit the appointment. And so, yeah, I don't think I'll ever get rid of the exhaust flaps as long as I'm working. But Jesus, he hustles. Yeah. As all of us do. I encourage everybody, you got to make your money. You got to make your money. You got to save money, and then you got to have a little bit of fun with it too. So yeah. Pilar, what do you think about the Eisman exhaust? I haven't heard it, so I'll have to get back to you on that. If you look on SV Bimmer's YouTube channel, they have I think they have a couple of those exhausts that you could check out. Doesn't sound too bad from what I remember, at least on the E90 chassis. However, it is a heavy exhaust. It's very heavy. So for me, the car sounds perfectly fine right now. Like I said, especially with what I do for work, it doesn't leave me really wanting for more. Now, of course, if I could get something a little bit better, that'd be great, but I don't want to have anything that weighs me down as well. Like there are some modifications that I would like to do, but just because of my work, I can't really do it. Like I would like to do a rear seat delete. I would have liked to do like Recaro seats or Sparco seats, but it's hard. Yeah. It's my only car, so I can't, you know, if I got like a weekend car or I got a car for work, then maybe I could do something a little bit more with this, but that's why I went with the M4 seats, because they look stock to a certain extent if you don't really know BMWs. If I were to do like a rear seat delete, it would have to look nice. You know, actually, Veggies, I actually don't know much about you. What do you do for work, man? Actually, when I saw that, I know that all of us, we work hard for our money. We work hard, not necessarily for the money, but we work hard so that we can put mods and we can keep our cars running. So, you know, I actually don't know too much about you, man. So if you're open to it, man, yeah, let me know a little bit. Ryan B. Hey, Fritz, I have the same model suspension weak point. Oh, question. Suspension weak points. I was about 90 one day on highway and rear end felt wavy. Now anything over 80 is feeling weird. Anything wavy. Rear end. Check your bushings. Check your bushings and control arms in the back. That's the only thing that I can think of right now, if it's just the rear. But usually it's the bushings are the weak point and them like fitting in all the way. Yeah, you could always upgrade to like a monoball system. Weak points on suspension, there aren't, like there is and there isn't. It's a weird way for me to say it. If your shocks and springs are bad, you're gonna feel it. You'll know that it's bad. The control arms, the reason why if one goes bad, it's not such a big deal is because you have 3 control arms in the front and you have I think you have like 5 control arms in the back. So if one goes bad, you have other control arms to help support it. But if you feel something weak and like wavy, I'm suspicious of the bushings. And possibly like maybe one of the control arms is loose. So I would say check on that in the rear, but you should have about 5. You have 1, maybe 4. I forget exact. No, 5. 5 if you count the carrier that supports the spring, which is technically called a control arm. So check on all the arms and make sure nothing is loose. Naruto, I'm from New Jersey. I want to buy a BMW. What year is good to keep long run? If you just want a BMW and you don't plan to do anything on it, you just want it to run and you want something reliable, look for a BMW that is a SULEV model and as late of a year as possible, because BMW, based off of the federal emissions agreement that they worked out, those cars will be warranted for 15 years or 150,000 miles for anything emissions related. And that transfers with each owner. So if you just want a BMW, like that's the best way to go. Usually you could look into the N20. Is that the N? It's either the N20 or N26 engine. I'm forgetting, but it's one of those two. And that's a good way to go. My buddy actually got his turbo replaced because his wastegate went bad. So all that I think he had to pay for was the assessment fee, or the diagnostic fee, But then because of the system in place, I think he got refunded that amount. I think he paid like nothing for that. He told me he had to pay initially, but then once they tried to charge him like a brand new turbo. And then I asked him, like, pop the hood and take a picture of the stickers there. It was a Sulev model. And then I told him, like, no, you get that for free. Just tell them it's a Sulev model. And if it's part of the emissions, you get it for free. Well, they just ended up giving him a whole brand new turbo. Because I'm pretty sure that BMW probably, they charged, whatever Federal Reserve account that program is associated to. And they just said, oh, it's not just the wastegate, it's the whole turbo that went bad. And we need to replace the whole thing. So they gave him a brand new turbo and everything was covered. Ramby, and what would you recommend in case of control arms, struts, etc.? Okay, if you're in an area that doesn't have to worry about salt, then you could run STs. They are the sister company of KW, and their stuff is pretty good for the money. It's a good bang for your buck company. If you are in an area that has to worry about salt, then I would get the KWs because they have the stainless steel component and they're backed by a lifetime warranty. ST goes only 5 years. The control arms, I would go SPL. I know that Turner makes their own kind of, but SPL, they have the better locking point for the control arms. Some of them are still jam nuts, but a lot of them, they have that locking collar. It's a lot easier. And they're made out of a more robust aluminum than most other companies, including Turner, I think. So even though I think SPL makes the Turner control arms, the grade of aluminum is higher in the SPL branded control arms. So that's what I would go with. They are adjustable. So alignment is a pain. Your mechanic is not going to like you for it. But if you plan to go monoball and you want to do other things later on, especially if you plan to do coilovers don't exactly, like, they fit in the car perfectly fine. It's getting them to agree with the other components that's an issue, and having that adjustability with the SPL, even if you don't want to do something like crazy camber, it's going to be able to better align the suspension and those struts to work well with each other. Like, one of the issues is the sway bar end link. I had to get not even a F22 designed sway bar end link because the mounting point on the KW is so different from OEM, and because of the drop in height, I had to get a shorter body sway bar end link from SPL. That's also the good thing about SPL too, is because they're the ones manufacturing all these things. If you run into an issue like that, you tell them exactly what it is, and they have all the resources to send you whatever it is that you need. Versus if you go with somebody like Turner, who outsources these things, they would have to get back to you. They would have to call SPL and all of the things. So SPL. But Jesus, I work in a group home with kids. Right on, man. Good for you. Well, thank you for that. Hey, man, this world is a tough place. This world is a tough place. And people who are going through that, they need good people around them. They're lucky to have you. My dream job would have to be doing something with cars, maybe detailing or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of those, I know, some of the people there, like where you work right now, they have a tough time. And giving them something to do, like if that's what you wanted to do, or helping them get into cars, or having them to put their energy into something positive is, I think, a struggle of places like that. But having you there, somebody who's passionate about cars, who can speak to it, not just like, oh, well, maybe you should get into cars. Like some people like, oh, maybe you should just get into that thing, but then they can't speak on it, right? They say, get into that field, get into that, that field of study, but they don't know anything about it. You can say that, because one, you know the kids, two, you're passionate about the field. So it is actually a good pairing. It's not just a hypothetical of like, oh, I like to work with my hands. Oh, be a mechanic. No, you're like, oh, you like to tinker, you like to fix things, you're good with your hands. Now you should be a mechanic, something like that. That's awesome, man. And if you get a detailing business, and if you get something here, you let me know, man. I'd like to promote you. I mean, if you came over here too, I'd also use your services as well. Ryan, excellent, thank you. Love your vids. Yep, happy to help, and I hope I did help you. Soul Slinger, check out Ammo NYC for OCD auto cleaning. Right on. There you go, Jesus. Soul Slinger is still coming in clutch with the suggestions. Stage 2G. I'm broke in college, just work as a waiter to pay for school and car. That's okay. We all started somewhere, man. We all started somewhere. And this is what I was saying earlier. That's why I want to make videos like this, as far as like, are things worth it? How you can save money on your car and things like that. Like I said, if you guys do decide that we want to do something like together with the Rex racing wheels, I'm more than happy to set that up. But mostly I want to help people, get something nice for their car, and then also remove the stigma of rep wheels. I mean, maybe more not. Like maybe some people are really like obnoxious and snobby or whatever, but I doubt that they got BBSs. Just do. I will say most of the time, if I meet somebody who has BBSs, if you look at the SV Bimmer YouTube channel where we interviewed DJ Dub, who has his full built out E90, he has BBSs on his wheels. He straight up says like, it's not for everybody. And like, if this is all that you can get, it's fine. Like, so, here's the thing, like what I'm trying to say is the people who have BBS wheels, they don't hate on people who don't have those wheels. Like they understand that wheel is a premium product. And as long as you're not like pretending that you have BBSs, that's when they get triggered a little bit, is when you say, I have BBS wheels, but they're clearly reps or something like that. The people who have BBS wheels are not the ones going all over the internet saying, you got rep wheels, this and that. No, I'll tell you what, man, I think we just showed right now that we have a good community of people that's willing to support you, whatever you're trying to do. We'll build it out the way that we need to. But Jesus, 320i, 328, like the BMW version of a Civic. So old reliable then. There's nothing wrong with old reliable. I think that N20 is the like one of the newer versions for the Sulev, collaboration. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I got my dad the F30, the first one in the first place. It's just because he wanted to stick, we went with another one. But somebody who's not really going to work on cars, or they just need it for now, and they want something that's like low maintenance and low cost investment for a long period of time, Sulev model is going to be awesome. Stage 2G. Does the exhaust warranty work the same on F32 with the turbo? If it's a Sulev model, anything emissions related should work. Look up Sulev Cars Keys Motorsports. In that video's description, I think he has a website to go over what is covered in each spec of the Sulev warranty, from year to model and everything. So check out his video, and in that description, there's a website that should be able to answer your question. Soul Slinger, I'll tell you what I do next week. Remind me. Oh, all right. I'm 40, been throwing down on mechanical and electrical work for a long time now. I remember you telling me that. And just your wealth of knowledge, it's evident that you know exactly what you're talking about. My suggestion this week to enthusiasts: buy the book for your car and read everything. Bentley publishers for BMWs are money, but worth it. Hey man, in today's day and age, I'm pretty sure it's somewhere free on the internet with like a PDF version. So when it comes to stuff like this, money is usually not an excuse because the internet is accessible to most people out there. But I won't disagree with your suggestion at all. But Jesus, 100% agree. I agree, man. That's facts. I've never thought about it like that. Yeah, man. I mean, I think what we're referring to, let me see your last comment here. We talked about a few things. Oh yeah, the reliability of it. Yep. Yeah. And it's a dream of mine to come out to California. I've been there once, but would be an amazing place to live. Yeah, if you're expecting the warm climates, don't come now. It is, and trust me, I know I'm speaking to the wrong person here, because in Canada you get snow. It's cold here for us. For you, it might feel like summer. We just had rain not too long ago. Best time of summer. And I would even recommend, like, the best place to go. It's not here. San Francisco is not how they make it look. Like, it's beaten up a little bit. The beaches in Southern Cal, like Long Beach, San Diego, nice. I've heard, I haven't been, but they said that some of the areas there are a little roughed up a little bit. But if you really go into the beach, like, it's fine. Like, the water's still fine, from what I know. Yeah, I think Southern California is the place, is a better place than over here. But I mean, hey man, if you come over to Northern California, you come my neck of the woods, man, you let me know, and we'll hang out. Josh B, any specific reason you replaced control arms and struts before you installed new wheels? Yes. So actually the struts came after the wheels. But I replaced the control arms first because I wanted to fit a square setup on the M235i, and an 8.5-inch wheel, which is, it's hard to find anybody who makes an 8-inch wheel, but an 8.5-inch wheel requires a little bit of camber and caster to be dialed in the front. And I didn't want to do top hats if I didn't do the coilovers, and I didn't want to throw down coilovers at the time. So I opted to do the control arms because eventually the control arms go bad anyways. And so that dialed in just enough of camber and realigned the caster to fit the wheel without it rubbing. Also, it got rid of the bump steer. There's a little bit of dead space with the electronic steering rack in the BMWs. You can feel it. Like, there's just a little bit of wobble where the car doesn't do anything. It'll still go straight. The control arm pretty much gets rid of that. If you go over like a bump, a pothole, something like that, then it can jerk on you. Since I installed the SPLs, it hasn't done that. So that was a pleasant surprise. So the whole goal was to fit in a square tire setup, but then I got a side benefit of no bump steer, which is really good. For Jesus. Yeah, man, I've been to Venice Beach once, but that's about it. Beautiful placement. Yeah, that's the other beach that I was thinking about too. Yeah, man. I mean, if you can, I guess the question would be, would you want to spend on car mods, or would you want to visit California? I might be asking a tough question there. But I guess either one, you can't go wrong. Yeah. Also, I'm at 100,000 kilometers on my M235i. Any major preventive maintenance I need to do for it? I just did spark plugs and brakes last month. Let me see, 100,000 kilometers to miles. Wait, is that right? Did I get that right? 100,000. So you're about 60,000 miles. Coolant. Keep an eye on if you haven't done a coolant flush, that usually happens around 70,000 mile mark. Also keep an eye on that Mickey Mouse flange. That's another one that can go bad around that time. Whenever you do your coolant change, if you haven't upgraded to the aluminum flange, go ahead and do that. And then keep an eye on the oil filter housing and oil cooler gasket. That usually could go bad anytime after 40,000 miles, which you are 20,000 past. Yeah, if you've done all the plastic parts, those are the only things that I could recommend. You're pretty on top of it though. So, I mean, I'm probably only telling you things that you already know. Let's see here. Q King Charles. 2020 BMW G20. Okay. Right on. Yeah, that G20, it's the interior, the seats. They are nice. They are nice. Different style from BMW, but I think it'll grow on people. It's interesting if they, I wonder what they will do for their LCI models. Happy to have you here. Josh B. Makes sense. Thanks for the insight. Also, have you had any issues with your boost pipe since you installed it? I see a few people who upgrade having issues with the falling boost pipe falling off. No? As long as you slide it in all the way and then you tighten down the hose clamp, I would recommend that you tighten the hose clamp from the bottom of the car. So remove that splash shield. Slide the hose clamp give it a little bit of a lip. I would say maybe like 1/8 of an inch of a lip, and then snug it down. Even when it's fully snugged, you should still see a bit of the hose clamp on the opposite side, on the turbo side. I've had no issues of it, anything. The N55 is pretty solid. Even the N20. The N20, you can't fully throw on the silicone hose. So like you could give like a 1/4 inch if you have the N20 and 26 model. But Jesus. Okay, bro, sounds good. I appreciate that. Happy to help. I'm only on top of it because of your video, man. Can't take it up. Nah, man. Yeah. I'm just here I'm here like a supporting cast. You're doing most of the work. I just kind of put things in front of a camera. That's it. I'm nothing special. You're the one who's actually doing all the things on your car. You got to tell people this all the time. You got to give yourself most of the credit. At most you give me 30% of the credit. 70% goes to you because you're actually doing the thing. But really, I think it's more of a 90-10. You were going to do it anyways. I just help give you a little bit of insight before doing said thing, but you would have done it anyways. Q King Charles. I've had 6.3 series. This one is the best. One G20, G80 are nuts. Right on. Yeah. I actually, styling wise, I love the M2. But if you're just to tell me like just looks, and I'm not driving anything else, I'm not factoring anything else, I like the M4 look. I like the sleekness of it. I like the lines that extend through the roof. And I think like carbon parts, like the wing and all the things, like they really future-proofed the M4 as far as looks more than anything else out of the F chassis, I believe. Even the M5. Yeah, but I mean, you got a G80, so. Oh, sorry, you got a G20, sorry. No, wait, let me double check that. Yeah, you have a G20. Yeah. Naruto. I have a Chevy Impala 2013, 140,000 miles is a good. I fix 134,000 miles is good. I fix a lot of work and I have to replace the transmission. Ooh, if you're going to do that yourself, man. Oh, 140,000 miles. That's pretty good for what it is. And then you're going to replace it and run it for what, another 140,000? Hey, man, that's nice. And that's impressive. Stereo sound agent. I'm from the outside in. California seems like a scary place to have a modified car. Is the enforcement as bad as it seems on the internet? In some places. I would say like in the like ritzier areas, yes. In the snobbier places, yes, because the police don't have anything else to do there. Almost kind of like if you're not obnoxious about it, they don't really care, I would say. I live like in, so if you look on a map, San Francisco, I live on the East Bay side. So right across from San Francisco and South Bay towards San Jose. It's usually not that big of an issue. I know some people who have gotten state refed and things like that. But usually there's like, if you don't do it all the time, usually you can get away with it. I haven't gotten really pulled over for anything like that on my car. I know some people who live in other areas that are a little bit more strict, and they've gotten pulled over frequently. So it really depends on where. But Jesus, M4, my dream car. So it looks like we're on the same wavelength like that. I hope people don't look at us as like 2 series traders, but yeah, the M4 does look nice. It has that like that kind of Batman, that Batmobile look to it. So okay, so we're on the same wavelength, man. I mean, that's probably like we get along so well. Yeah, M4 for the looks. I got to give it to it. Yeah, and I think the interior is better too. I think it blends the best of all of the things, but I still say that the M2 handles the best. Q King, I wish I had a G80. I will get one sooner or later. Yeah, you know, whenever the money comes in, whenever you're able to. But I mean, you got a car that's more than capable right now, and I'm sure that will keep a smile on your face for quite some time. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. You got a winner right there where you are. So, all right. Well, everyone, thank you everybody for chiming in. Everybody getting input. We got, a plethora of people coming in today. We got to know each other a little bit better. And if, like I said, if you guys are down to do the group buy or something like that, or if something else you want to suggest, just message me on Instagram at RoomTuber. And if anything else comes up, let me know. I'm more than happy to help. And, whatever it is that comes up, I hope to see you guys next week, and enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. Thanks for chiming in.